It's said that the biggest competitive advantage that an NBA team can have is good ownership. As such, it stands to reason that the biggest competitive disadvantage a team can have is bad ownership. Among NBA owners not named Donald Sterling, Ted Stepien just may be the very worst. Now, the name should sound familiar. Today, we have the infamous Stepien rule, which is designed to prevent NBA owners from destroying the future of their own franchises. This is the true, absolutely insane story of the namesake of the Stepien rule, the man who almost killed basketball in Cleveland. In 1980, Ted Stepien, self-made millionaire, owner of nationwide advertising service, purchased the Cleveland Cavaliers, bought the controlling stake. Almost immediately, the red flags began to appear. In fact, Ted, who owned a softball team at the time, there was a professional softball organization trying to get going, decided that as part of a promotion, he was going to throw softballs out of a window to players on the team down below. However, that window at Terminal Tower in Cleveland was located on the 52nd floor, which meant that the softballs Ted was lobbing to the ground down below were traveling an estimated 144 miles per hour by the time they reached the pavement. Now, eventually, one of Ted's players was able to catch one of these red-hot fastballs, but not before the damage had already been done. One of Ted's first tosses hit a car, and one poor woman broke her wrist trying to shield herself from the 144-mile-an-hour fastball. This should have been an early warning to Cleveland of how things would go under Stepien's rule. In fact, it got so bad for the Cleveland Cavaliers that they ceased to be known as the Cavaliers. Our great presenting sponsor for the Basketball Bulletin is Sleeper. If you've never heard of the Sleeper app, or more likely you have, here's a little secret. It is more than just a platform for season-long fantasy leagues. This year, there's millions of users playing fantasy sports on Sleeper, but the app offers so much more than just that. They have live stats, real-time updates, and visualizations on all stats, something I use every day, the news feed. Get lightning-fast updates on your favorite players and teams, and a real-time chat where you can engage with other users about individual plays and performances during the NFL and NBA season. So download the Sleeper app today. I made a couple of picks here on Sleeper. I'm fired up for the NFL season. I like on the season, Tyler Warren, the rookie with the Colts, more than 550.5 receiving yards. I think he's going to be a really important target for Daniel Jones. And then Zach Charbonnet. Yes, this means I don't think Ken Walker is going to stay healthy the entire season. Zach Charbonnet, 499.5 rushing yards. I think he will be involved in that offense, and he will eclipse that. So make sure you guys do check out the Sleeper app if you agree with me or if you don't agree with me. Check it out either way.
Don't forget to enter promo code Bulletin as well upon sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. Terms and conditions apply.
Locally, they were called the Cleveland Cadavers under Stepien's rule. Stepien had 4 coaches inside of one calendar year. He had a penchant for hiring and firing coaches on a whim. One such legendary coach, Chuck Daly, when he was fired by the Cavs, wrote in his autobiography, "I didn't think I'd be too damaged by what happened with the Cavaliers because everyone knew how messed up they were." But despite the way Ted treated coaches, it was the way he handled future draft picks that has caused him to go down in NBA infamy. At one point, he traded 5 consecutive first-round picks. So strong was his desire to make the playoffs now. Unfortunately, he largely traded those picks for mediocre players. And those picks, in some cases, turned out to be valuable. He even traded the pick to the Lakers that they eventually used to select James Worthy, number 1 overall. At one point, the Mavs owned Cavs first-rounders for 4 straight years. The Mavs coach at the time joked that he was afraid to go to lunch because he was worried he would miss a call from Cleveland and another chance to trade with Ted. Eventually, all of the futile trading of draft picks started to catch up with the Cavs. And so to recoup some of these assets, they traded away Bill Laimbeer to the Detroit Pistons. That's right. Backbone of the Bad Boys Pistons teams, multi-time All-Star, multi-time NBA champion, Bill Laimbeer, traded to the Detroit Pistons. The deal got done 15 minutes before the trade deadline when the Pistons, in order to get Laimbeer, added Paul McKeskey as a player going to the Cavs. Now, McKeskey was Polish, and it was well known that Stepien, who was also Polish, had a soft spot for such players. So the Pistons threw in a Polish player to get Bill Laimbeer, knowing that Stepien wouldn't be able to resist. Later on, Laimbeer would team up in Detroit with the aforementioned Chuck Daly, the fired Cavs coach, where they'd win a pair of championships on the legendary Pistons Bad Boys teams. No Ted Stepien, no Bad Boys in Detroit. Now, the center that Ted kept instead of Laimbeer, he traded a short time later to the Phoenix Suns in exchange for a few more picks, a player, and $425,000 in cash because Stepien needed some help making payroll. Ted's trading got so bad that at one point the NBA froze his ability to trade future picks out of fear that he would trade all of their picks going into the 1990s. Think about that. Ted's trades were so bad that the NBA took away the keys to the car and made it so he could not trade anymore. The fear, once they realized how bad Ted was, that ultimately, when they were able to get rid of him, no one would want to buy the team because the team would have no future draft capital to rebuild itself upon. The Cavaliers would truly be the cadavers. They would be a dead team with no one interested in owning them. Of course, during this dark period, attendance fell, and Stepien considered changing the team's name from the Cleveland Cavaliers to the Ohio Cavaliers so that he could take them around to different locations that didn't have NBA teams, including Toronto, Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati, to try to increase the number of fans that he could draw from. He wasn't capturing enough of the Cleveland market due to his terrible decisions, so his bright idea was, let's expand out of the Cleveland market and let's travel around to other cities and try to gain fans from those cities as well. Ultimately, after just 3 years as an NBA owner, Ted Stepien sold to George and Gordon Gund in 1983. At that point, the Cavs were in such bad shape that the NBA, in order to get the Gund brothers to buy the team, agreed to allow the Gunds to pay a sum of cash in each of the next 4 NBA drafts to buy their way back into the first round. That's right. Stepien had done so much damage to the Cavs' future that the NBA created extra first-round picks that they allowed the new owners to purchase just to try to undo some of the damage. During the time period from 1980 to 1983 that Ted Stepien was in control of the Cavs, they went through 5 different head coaches. They had a total record of 66 wins and 180 losses. And in terms of profitability, they lost about $15 million, which in today's money is about $47 million. Today, we have what's known as the Stepien rule, which prohibits NBA teams from trading consecutive future first-round picks in order to avoid a situation like what Ted Stepien put Cleveland through, where at one point the future of the organization appeared to be in doubt because of how much future capital Ted had traded away. Give me your thoughts on the story of Ted Stepien in the comments down below. Don't forget to like the channel and subscribe as well. Till next time, see ya and stay safe.